Hi, mate. Hi there, guys. Sorry, caught me on the hop here. I was just having lunch. Now, let's just make sure we have full YouTube ready to rock and roll. This hour before has thrown me. We're back to normal times next week, aren't we, mate? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. I can see that on your camera.
My little mute button hasn't
There
been
we go.
fixed. Yeah, well, that would depend on your relative position on normal, I would think. And my relative position on normal is it's okay until they change these flipping times around.
Well,
He's confused. He doesn't know whether he's Arthur or Martha. What time
Oh,
of
do
day
you know what?
is
Do you know what it was? Do you know what it was, mate? I muted YouTube, and then I saw your mouth move, and I thought, oh, you're muted again, but you're not. You're all right.
No, I'm okay.
SF, how you doing, buddy? So, any updates from you, mate? In anything you're looking at, that Aussie yen?
Not really. Well, I suppose there is. I was looking for a pound yen long, and that was on a 4-hour chart. That looks very much like it's not going to happen. Certainly not at the moment, because it's simply continued to tank. And I'm going to leave the order in place, and the order's above this bar here.
Oh, we can't see your chart.
Oh, that would be because I haven't shared it. Okay, that one and that one and that one. So we were looking to play a false break of this support trade line here. Very clear, very out there and in your face, and no reason why you wouldn't take that if you trade the way I trade. So we had a break. We also had a breakdown of the, hang on, I'll go a little bit wider just to give you context. We had a break of the, what would I call it? Internal ascending channel, of which, inside a bigger picture, if you like, ascending channel. And I thought this was a nice opportunity for a false break up here to maybe get back on track with bounce off the bottom, higher low. I thought that was a nice little position to take. And look, it's not the end of the world that it hasn't gone there, because obviously we haven't been taken into the trade, and that, of course, is part of the strategy with it. We have very little insurance policies built in. Strong bar down, there's no question about that. And what do we do next? Do we wait and see if that's still going to pan out? And the answer to that for me right now is, you can see how confident I am, right? I think I will. I'll leave it there for now, but I'll certainly cancel it if we don't get any positive action between now and the end of this session. So I'll certainly do that. So that's pound yen long. Of course, the market giveth, and the market taketh away, and we are in euro yen short, and that seems to be powering on as well. To the south side, look, I've got high hopes for this one, to be fair, and we're safe in this trade already, and on the way. I believe we're on the way anyway. We're on the way to down here, which is where are we now? Can't remember the price. We're about 300 pips from where we are, and I'm pretty confident we're going to get there, frankly, without even bothering our stop loss. So that would give us a pretty decent old win on this. But I don't.
Yeah, I'll make you right, mate. I'll make you right. And what do we think about the ECB today? I mean, is this likely to worsen the euro? Because there's probably little chance that they will be lowering interest rates at this point, but they might say something which would suggest that things aren't rosy in the garden, which we all know. They're going to state the obvious, but will they come out and say there is a stimulus package in the offing?
I actually don't think it matters too much, mate. what they say at the moment. I think there are external forces that are governing what the euro's doing, what the pound's doing, what all currencies are doing based on external forces. Of course, Brexit being the main one for the euro and the pound. So I don't know that, and that's just outrageous or outstanding policy that they're going to introduce, which I can't see, frankly. Then I don't think it's going to have that much influence. Maybe they do pull a rabbit out of the hat. I don't know.
I don't know what they can say, but they've got to be thinking about the next step. Considering these national lockdowns that appear to be gathering pace now, they've got to be thinking about the next step and what might now transpire for the.
You mean in terms of the virus?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not thinking of anything else. I mean, I think Brexit aside, really, there's potentially a deal done today, but who knows with that one? It just it looks like it's going and then it's halting again. I think trying to time Brexit is proving to be far too difficult for me to be too interested anymore. I've kind of given up on it, so I probably won't trade the euro pound from this point.
It's only taken 4.75 years.
to make that decision. Well, I thought we had it on the October the 15th date. I thought, well, that's close enough to expiry, if you like, on January the 1st for us to at least attempt to get into the market. But it just hasn't proved to be of any kind of benefit whatsoever. So Brexit. So the euro pound is kind of off the table. But no, I'm really talking about the virus, and I think that France, I think, is, if not headed, has already gone into lockdown. The virus seems to be gathering quite a lot of pace over here in the UK, and it just appears to be that case right across the board in Europe. And you can see that the reaction from markets now. Forgetting the reaction of markets, people's livelihoods are at risk. Now, there's going to need to be some kind of intervention, whether it's from government or whether it's from central banks, just to get people through the next 6 months, I would have thought. So do they come out and say something, or are they will Christine Lagarde come in and say that, look, that's it? We've done everything that we proposed to do. Now it's down to national governments to really sort of take the bull by the horns and get this stuff done, because we can do no more.
I kind of think, how much more can they do, and not just from a want point of view, but from an actual doable point of view. How low can they go in interest rates, and how much stimulus buying can they actually take place? How many bonds can they buy? And where does it end?
I don't know, mate. And I suppose this is the thing, isn't it? When it comes down to the bonds, I suppose that to a degree can be endless, because they just print the money and then they've got the money that then they can go and buy the bonds. The interest rate is a different question.
And sell the country. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? Because I was having this chat with Paul that they could just write off the debt in the end, but that's just not possible. You can't write off the debt because somebody owns it. And if they are, as you point out, international investors from somewhere else, then they're not going to be too happy if all of a sudden everything they've owned is worthless. So well, they're not there to buy assets that diminish in price, are they?
No, exactly.
Or go to zero. That's not what they're there.
Exactly.
They hold security over those assets, and if that asset happens to be the United Kingdom, for instance, well, guess what? They now play by the rules that person or entity sets. Yeah, and this is really very esoteric times. That we're talking about this, but the reality is exactly as you say. So there has to be a point where a country, a central bank, a government has to say, well, shit, we're out of ammo.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Well, and I suppose this is where everything becomes very interesting, isn't it? Because this is where international forces really do come into play. Because if I was China and I was in a situation where I was coming out of this better than everybody else, as soon as assets became available from every single nation, I would be getting my shopping trolley out, because it would mean that I could effectively, as a region or a country, own parts of the world financially rather than having to go through war. Because, and this stuff's gone on forever, isn't it? If the UK wanted to go and own India, they'd go and invade them. But now the case
No,
is
they tried that. They did that.
they've done, but that's what I'm saying. That times have changed. Now the way to own a country is to effectively buy the debt. Buy the assets that that make that country what it is, and you own the country. And it's it's a much more passive way to do it, but it's the outcome is the same. It's exactly the same. It's
not like it hasn't been going on for quite some time, even without us knowing.
Yeah.
In Australia in particular, I can tell you that China has been investing in our ports.
Right.
The way in and out of countries, obviously apart from air, is by ports. Yeah. And let's face it, Australia is resource rich, and China is a major trading partner on that basis.
Yeah.
So China's answer to, okay, we don't have the resources, is to, okay, let's buy the infrastructure by which the resources come to us. And if those resources were to become in short supply, which happens from time to time, believe it or not, for whatever reason, then, and I've seen this firsthand, where we've had 40 or 50 coal ships sitting off the port of Newcastle, where I come from, right, which is the biggest coal port in the world, frankly. I've seen them, 40, 50 ships sitting off the port waiting to be loaded. Well, if that becomes the case, whose ships are going to be loaded first?
Yeah.
The Americans, the Japanese, the Indians?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, up there for dancing.
Yeah, and it's totally legal. I mean, it's no different than us going onto the stock market and saying, well, there's a beaten up company. I'll buy some shares in that company and own a stake in it. Because I think that ultimately they're going to give me a return. So there's
the interesting
nothing...
part about that is, if you walked into Beijing right now with $10 trillion in your pocket and said, I want to buy the Red Square or whatever you want to buy, how do you think you'd go?
Well, it's not for sale. I suppose that's the thing, though, isn't it, mate? That they're not in any financial difficulty, so they don't need to be selling assets like that. What I'm talking about is if
they want to. That's not in their. It's not.
No, of course it's not. But then I'd be very surprised if the UK would really want to sell something like the Houses of Parliament. But it might get to the point where
you'd be surprised, but that doesn't stop it happening.
Well, no, but if the price is right, but if a country is in dire need because they have got themselves into a financial hole, surely the next step is we have to sell some assets.
And that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And then who comes in? Well, the highest bidder, and if that highest bidder is another country, then so be it. Because I mean, it's a bit different with China, because China, a lot of the time, it will be a citizen, let's say, with a let's say, before Donald Trump was president, it would have been the Donald Trump empire that would have come and bought an asset from a different country like Scotland. But now we've got, because every single company is linked to the Chinese government. China come in, it's a bit of a different, it has a different flavor about it, because you're effectively being owned by the Chinese government. If a Chinese businessman was to come and put a bid in for the Natural History Museum or whatever it is, so I think that's why people are probably a little bit more cautious about that. But ultimately, it's the same thing. It's that you've got to sell an asset and you sell it to the highest bidder.
That's the global economy for you, and that's also the sword by which you die if you're a capitalist regime, which is really interesting when you look at that. And I haven't really thought about this too much, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but if the capitalist system were to fold, hang on a minute, are we seeing that happening before? If that was to happen,
Yeah.
then, and suddenly a communist regime, which is now capitalist enthused, I'll put it that way, becomes the owner of the capital assets. Wow, that's screwing with my head a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got to say.
Now, another thing that I think is something worth mentioning and getting Shukri's opinion on is just making sure I've got the right website here. I think it is the fact that what do we have? Am I mistaken in saying that Thailand, the Thailand central bank has launched its own cryptocurrency? Sorry, the National Bank of Cambodia joins a very small group of digital currencies. So the National Bank of Cambodia, very small group of cryptocurrencies. What does that do for the likes of Bitcoin? You know, is this trend starting to gain a little bit of momentum? And you guys can go and check this out. It's on the Bangkok Post. If you go to the Bangkok Post, I'll bring you the website here. Sorry, mate. I don't know if you're looking at something else, but here you go. This is the Bangkok Post here. This is the website, bangkokpost.com. And I don't know whether we can search here for anything. Let's put in Cambodia. And see what that suggests. But I do have the So launched on Wednesday, a central bank-backed digital currency that draws blockchain technology designed by a Japanese company. Here we go. So this is the report here, and what I'm interested in, what does that do? Yes, LT knows about this. What does that do to the likes of Bitcoin? Does that surely people are starting to bypass? You know, some of these big central banks are attempting to bypass the cryptocurrencies that we all know and enjoy at this particular time. Is this going to be negative for the crypto space? Or does it push the cryptocurrencies that we know about right now, the likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum, underground and actually make them even more attractive? Because obviously things with centralized bank is that those cryptocurrencies will end up being centralized. You know, somebody's going to be controlling them, and surely the most attractive aspect of cryptocurrencies is that they are decentralized. So what does it do? I'll be really interested to hear from Shukri about this. I'm not sure whether he's in with us just yet, but if he does come in, you're embracing the cryptos by the banks. Yeah, it's a difficult one for me. I don't know how to read it.
It's a very difficult one. It always was. And I, again, good conversation to have with Shukri, and he's always said that this will only last for a short time.
Right.
The 10Xs and the 15Xs and all those sorts of things
Yeah.
that he's getting on these releases, on these, for want of a better word, IPOs, they're IEOs, I think. He's all over it, of course, but I think it's a very short-term thing, and because we are now painting ourselves into a corner, as it were.
Yeah.
And the only way out at this point seems to be, there's certainly a recalibration company coming. What that looks like is anybody's guess, but it does make sense to think that we don't need currency per se anymore.
Yeah,
it needs to be a global currency.
Well, maybe the actual story is more about the dollar. Then I wonder.
Well, I always thought it was, because the dollar's worth jack as far, and it's been pumped up for many, many moons. And I keep saying this, and I'm sorry, but I just think it's a dog. And and how we actually have any faith in it at all at this point in time is completely beyond me.
Well, the dollar is in a bit of trouble today. You know, it's not. It's certainly not out the traps and flying by any stretch. It's not a bit of trouble. It's just a little bit flat, I suppose, but not doing anything particularly spectacular. I'm looking at here. Silver is having a terrible old time of it. So maybe we'll look at some of that in a minute. So Crystal's saying that digital is different to cryptocurrency. So and maybe this is exposing my my naivety about cryptos. But I don't really know what to read into this. But I do think that it's something that we need to pay attention to. The fact that that we do have a central bank that that is using digital currencies. Jonathan's asking about the any comments on the ECB. I'm guessing we've covered that, but my main comment on the ECB is really about the press conference, the statement. You know, what do they say in the statement? What do they say in the press conference? Because I think they're going to have to say something. I think at 2:30 we may well listen into this if we can, if I can get it on Bloomberg. So I'll bring this in on Bloomberg and we'll watch it in the show. But I think we'll start off by looking at John's journal, which is a fantastic journal, by the way, John. I've really enjoyed reading it. I thought I quite like the brutal honesty that you put on yourself. I think you're a bit hard on yourself, but I quite like the fact that you've put your brutal honesty on there. And we look at some of those trades as well.
Good numbers out of the States.
Numbers are
in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. So let's talk about those as well. So we got advanced GDP quarter on quarter. So this is for the third quarter, and it showed what sort of recovery the United States had out of COVID. And I've got to be honest with you, mate. This is some of the issue I've got with things moving in the direction that they have. You know, if we kind of if we look at let's say that the S&P 500, you know, as the S&P has been pretty well beaten up for the last week. You could say the last 3 weeks, it's, you know, the previous 2 weeks it was getting close, and for the last week it's been pretty well beaten up. I still think that this is more of a valuation story than a negative, you know, economic outlook, because as I said before, the numbers just don't look that bad. But it's just, you know, and this is the biggest challenge.
How is that the case? That's the point.
Well, I think this is the biggest challenge.
How is it possible?
Because numbers are okay, and the market takes off at such a rate that when the numbers are okay again, it starts to drift to the downside. But I think that we are effectively, you know, just getting the net ready to catch catch this falling, because the numbers don't suggest that we're coming right back to these lows down here. It doesn't suggest to me that we're in any real trouble on the global economy. It seems to me that we are okay at probably at best, and just under okay at worst.
You've heard the story about the I can't remember where he was the emperor of, but he got a new set of clothes, right?
Yep, the emperor's new clothes. Yeah.
I got a feeling that that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we do have some earnings reports later on as well, but you know, if it is emperor's new clothes, then surely that does kind of back up the theory that this is more about valuation, and it's just that the market's got a bit of ahead of itself, so it comes back to a level and it holds. You know, maybe it doesn't hold there, but then the next point of call is there, which is a much better level because of that level along there. But you know, the S&P could still drop another 10%, and be less likely to fall further. What we're not seeing is major growth potentially. We're seeing a bit of growth from the you know, one of the worst quarters in history, but we're not seeing any huge kind of blowout numbers. So we're not seeing growth from when it was, you know, growing before.
No, it's not from ground zero.
No. But you know, things are fairly stable. But I just think that, as you rightly point out, the way that the market took off, it was emperor's new clothes, and I just think that maybe valuations have got, you know, quite a bit ahead of themselves. And I brought the guys a website recently about the Cape ratio, and the Cape ratio does suggest that and the Schiller index, and it does suggest that the earnings over the last 10 years, inflation adjusted, do not match the price of the S&P. So all we're really looking for is where earnings 10 years average inflation adjusted do match the price of the S&P, and I think it goes up from there. I don't really think it's too much more sinister than that at this particular point, because I just haven't got numbers which back up the theory that COVID-19 is destroying the US economy, because it just doesn't look like it is.
For whatever reason, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's probably down to stimulus. You know, maybe the stimulus packages that they've put in place have been good enough, which suggests again, back to the ECB, it suggests again that they will probably do something or announce something. Will they catch us, on the back foot here? It's hard to know, isn't it? If they do, if they come out and say pretty much nothing, and it's a pretty benign statement, I think we could tank. Hey Andrew, how you doing, buddy? I think we could tank. I think we could genuinely tank from where we are now, because the market needs something to start moving back to the upside again. It needs some kind. It needs a life ring right now, just to kind of stop the rot to the downside, which would suggest that we can continue to have some kind of marginal growth right across the board. But without it, I think we could be in a lot of trouble. So,
well, look, as you know, I know absolutely SFA about the stock market in the United States, or anywhere else for that matter. But it occurs to me that we're going to have a fair bit of chop until maybe the end of next week.
Yeah.
Because of the election, right?
Yeah, so, I think you're right. Especially if it's contested.
And well, if he loses, it will be.
Yeah.
You've got no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, I don't know. It's an impossible read for me at the moment. I think it's a time where, if history says this and you want to trade history, go with history. But if I'm honest, I'm happy to sit back here and come back next week and say, well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Now what do we do?
Yes. We're only Tuesday, aren't we? So it's only a matter of 4 trading days away before we get something. But didn't the Supreme Court come out and say that there was a potential for some kind of mail voting to be done right up until a week after that point? It's going to be like Brexit, mate. We'll never get to the end of it. Yeah. It's another one of those.
Brexit, yeah. Jesus. I mean,
it's crazy times, mate. It's crazy times. I mean, the reports right now on COVID are picking up. The fear is starting to kick back in. Certainly over here, it really is. We're getting tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 lockdowns kind of happening. 13 in a row for Shukri. Have you seen that post from Shukri?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I just ignore it. It's just part of the course for Shukri.
Shukri, you probably weren't in, mate, but we need to get your opinion about this, the cryptocurrency that the Cambodian central bank sorry, not cryptocurrency. I was corrected by Crystal. The digital currency that Cambodia central bank are starting to employ. Is that good or bad for Bitcoin and the like? Does that mean it's the end for those 10x's right now? Should we close our positions tomorrow, not carrying through the weekend? Crazy times. What do you think? Well, it depends.
I was going to say that depends on your position.
Yeah, it depends on where your positions are. If you're already in profit, do you know what I would do? This is probably the last thing we can get to here. Actually, PL,
I'm absolutely desperate to get into the market against the US dollar on a safe basis, frankly, so I can hold it over the weekend.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing to do. Let's say it really does depend where you got in. If you've got into a position here and the market is up here, then I would just be, rather than kind of like putting my stops under this point and giving it room, I'd probably be looking at a shorter time frame and looking at what say this move here is on a daily, and I'd switch to the 1 hour, and the 1 hour would be doing something like that. I'd be sort of like thinking, well, I might shift my stops up there. I'd still allow a stop to take me out, but I might just come down a couple of time frames and just shift the stop under a shorter term time frame, just in case there is a bit of a spike, and that still gives you some skin in the game. just in case, it does. You are right, and it just goes in your favour. That the chances are we're probably going to get enough in the way of margin and spread on these markets to take most positions out anyway. I would have thought if you get too close, but I think it's worth doing. I think it's worth doing if you're in a position like this, and you're, I don't know, let's say you're short somewhere there, and things are going like that, then I'd probably close it personally. I wouldn't want to be messing around with it because literally at this point it's going to do that or it's going to do that, and you could get gapped on a spread position. So it just okay. Shukri saying the Cambodia won't stop the crypto charge, so we're okay to still give the green light to go. I'm just looking at Ethereum actually. Ethereum's coming down to it's 383. It's still $20 away from where I want to get in. Okay, so but good fact here. Since the company which designed their system, Suramatsu, is that Suramitsu, did move 100x. Yeah, now that is good information, isn't it? So the Japanese company that has designed the blockchain for the Cambodian digital currency has moved 10x. That's quite amazing. Okay, mate. Well, we are wrapping here. We'll be back next Monday for everybody to listen in again. We'll be moving on now to the US show. So any of you want to come into that, then contact James at Actions to Wealth, and he will give you all the details of how to access that show. But for everybody else, we will see you next week. Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks, as always. We're going to be looking at John's journal pretty much as soon as we start. Are we not, mate?
We are indeed. Looking forward to that. And brace yourself, John.
Brace yourself. Why has he got to brace himself?
Well, you'll find out.
Okay, so I'm going to play a